So it's kind of like now you're trolling so hard. It's just like, dude, that don't even seem like you.
All right. Wait. I feel like I just came in from a different universe there. The timeline just jumped back in place. Where where was I?
Welcome, everyone to Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture from two very different perspectives. I'm your host, Theo, and on the line I have the man himself, Mr. Benja. What is up?
What's good, my man? What's good? Another week, and we are still alive.
Was that in doubt last week? We'll get into it, I'm sure. But hey, quick rundown, guys. We got a lot of news to cover today with Witcher updates, Black Panther Part Two casting announcements. We're going to talk a little bit about Amazon and space, and then we'll give you a quick rundown on what's going on with games and from Roblox and E3 conferences. And then our feature story this week, we're going to kind of cover crypto. There was the Bitcoin conference down in Miami, and the NFT Watch. Some interesting news there. And finally, we'll end it out with our recap: Loki episode 1. So Marvel is back, baby. So Ben, how was your week?
Week was good, man. Week was good. I started this thing where I'm doing Instagram lives on my Instagram page, obviously, and it's just been this kind of fun, weird thing that I started doing, and it's flowing now, man.
Yes. So shout out. We do our live show versus business on Wednesdays, around 9 p.m. Uh Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. I guess. Or would you say closer to 9:30 Eastern Standard Time?
Yeah, closer to 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Western.
Perfect. Yeah, so we do our live as well. But how's that experiment been going, man? I mean, what are some of the things that you've seen as you kind of got out there and talked to the populace?
So every so often I jump on Instagram and do a live. That was just it was random, sporadic, whatever. And then we got on Facebook doing the show versus business lives, and that got a little traction. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Let's try that on Instagram, and it went over well. So it suddenly, I don't know, Instagram just seems like the good audience people for that. I really like connecting with people on that platform because Instagram's not really a connecting kind of platform like Facebook. I mean, it's mostly a show and tell. So Instagram lives are, I think, a great way to really connect with people and talk to them. So yeah, if you're up on Wednesday, check it out.
Definitely. Yeah. I joined before as observer. You gave some great content. So everyone check out Mr. Benja's live when he does one because great content. I think you did one on branding and I thought that was really instrumental, especially now as we're starting to get back out there. Businesses are starting to open up, and branding is really huge right now. And that's kind of, I think you're kind of a near expert on that. Dealing with your branding of the Mr. Benja name and how you go about that. So I thought that was something interesting. So definitely check out his live, everyone, if you see him on IG. My week, man. So it was good. I was just a normal week, just getting back to the swing of things. I put my daughter into a Roblox coding camp. So
What?
she's 9 years old. Yes, they have coding schools for kids now, which I think they kind of always kind of had something like that. Because didn't we do like what was that thing we did back in the day with the mouse? Oh man, what was it called? It was
Logo?
like logo. Yes.
Oh wow.
Logo and basic. There was a classes in basic too. I think I took one or two when I was little. But yeah, so she's doing this Roblox game, and so you download a Roblox Studio to a PC or Mac, and you basically just a very GUI interface, but they're programming. And so she created her own obstacle course, and so I'm helping her to become a creator, man. So that's what I'm excited about. So she digged it, and so hopefully it will build some things going forward for her as she starts to think about the future.
That's excellent, man. I don't remember having anything so real world when I was younger. You know, you'd put together Legos or whatever, or do something on the computer, but it was always academic and it sat on the computer and it sat in school. It was
Mhm.
never like hey, you play Roblox anyway, or it's just connected to the real world, and I don't know, that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, she could literally publish her obstacle course she created and put it into the world, and so just helping her just to think like a creator and instead of just being a consumer. Because she's on Roblox, she want if I let her, she'll be on there for like 5 hours a day. But so now she starts to see things a little bit differently. So I thought that was kind of good, and it just kind of brought to mind some of the things about like just reminiscing the past, like us thinking now that we're trying to get back out there more. She's in camps more in person. Some of the things that we used to do back in the day is conferences, right? We used to go to conferences a lot, and I always think about our experiences at Comic Con. Um, so the conference season is coming up, man. Looks like things are opening up. True story. I think there's an opportunity for me to go to Coachella. So if you want to check it out, let
Oh,
me know
oh, oh.
in April. so yeah, so anyway, make a long story short, conferences and music festivals are starting to come back. So what are your thoughts, man? You excited, man? I know we kind of briefly talked about it last week on the pod, but where are you at with that?
Yeah, right. It's in a weird space right now. I want to see. I, I'm a little sad at conferences right now because I don't think they're trying hard enough. It's like they're just putting up some live streams and some videos. You have your video panel and all that, but it's not really terribly exciting. And I remember when I first got into cons, the San Diego Comic Con was blowing up, E3 was blowing up, Dragon Con was blowing up, the Penny Arcade Expo was blowing up. And I mean, these are major events now, and they were all just blowing up for the first time. So now, that means they would do interesting things. Now it's like they're just kind of waiting and showing you the same old stuff. And I'm hoping somebody comes out with something interesting. But for this con season, it's mostly people online not talking about anything exciting. So maybe there's a bit of fear in the air. I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, when I first went to the first Comic Con, and I think that was probably the best experience I had. Well, no, I went the first year, and then the first year we went, and we kind of stayed near where you were, and we had to drive into the conference, and it was, a little bit of a trek, but it was good to just be in that atmosphere. But it was like that second year, I think we actually got a hotel like literally like a block away from the conference, and I got to walk there and stay in line for Hall H for up to 8 hours to
Yeah.
go see the Game of Thrones panel and Breaking Bad panel. And to me, I said, okay, this is what conferences are about, right? Just to have that experience of being among your people, your tribe, seeing, favorite actors and getting some sneak peeks at things. But to your point, I think that was back in early 2010s, right? That's kind of been replaced. I mean, we kind of get that content now on YouTube with YouTubers, influencers now. The extra
Mhm.
content, the access to actors is a lot easier now because they're always on podcasts now or doing
Yeah.
YouTube interviews. So it's kind of like and then the tribe, we find our tribe now on IG and Instagram and Facebook groups and things like that. So it's kind of like the thing that I went for the conferences for has kind of been replaced by the digital aspects of things, and especially now with COVID, that just accelerated everything. So is it necessary to even be there in person anymore? That's the question.
Uh, it's not necessary, but okay. So in person gives you a few advantages. You get a lot of serendipitous elbow rubbing with other people in the room. Um, there's a certain connectivity you're just not going to get. And one thing that happens naturally in network situations when you're just walking around talking to people is that you actually enter a network. You network with the people right around you. If you're in a chat room, there's not too much of a reason why you're going to search on anyone's username and say, "Hey Bob, that's a nice username you have. Where'd you get it?" But when you're doing that in person, you're like, "Yo, where'd you get that big ass bag that has, all the Avengers on it?" And it's like, "Oh, this big ass bag, they're handing it out over at blah 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 restaurant. They're closing down at 5 o'clock. You better run over there." You can't really that type of ecosystem really isn't available online yet. And I think it's because, businesses and companies have made this a one-way kind of operation where it's like, let me just throw stuff at you and not really facilitate a group dynamic, a networking event. They're just all about pushing out things one way, and I think that's a recipe for failure.
Mhm.
Not
Yeah.
failure, but
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think there is some interesting things that come out of just being there in person. I mean, like you said, you just randomly run into people and you're like, oh, what's that? And I've been to Dragon Con and, got to meet, you know, man, I'm drawing a blank right now. Lando, the great Billy D. Williams, right? In
oh,
Atlanta, man. He was in a Corvette, man. He was waving to the crowd. He got out real slow. And I said, hey, Billy D, what's up, brother? He gave me the thumbs up, so I was
yeah.
like, oh man. So,
Well,
you feel good about that.
well, you remember when we were in what was that? It's not the Sheraton. I think it was the Hilton. We were walking
Mhm.
around, and you see all these nerds walking by. You're like, all right, I'm tired of seeing Superman. I'm tired of seeing people dressed up as Game of Thrones or whatever. I'm tired of all that. But then all of a sudden, we see this fine, seasoned black lady, and we're like, oh, Taraji P Henson, and we're like the only two geeking out. We run over there and take pictures, right? But it was just cool that way. It was fun.
Man, I got so much play off that picture, man, especially when Empire was hot. Everybody's like, "Oh, you met her? Oh my god!" So it was, and it's funny, man. You meet actors and everything. I think everyone always says this, but they are short, man. They're a lot smaller than you always think when you see them in person. So I was like, "Oh wow, you're a little bitty thing," but yeah, she was nice and everything. But she was surprised that we recognized her. I knew that for a fact.
Yeah.
But hey, true story. That show she was on, man, I never watched at the time. Person of Interest. That's a great show. So ever check that out if you get a chance, man.
All
It's
right.
really good. Yeah. So she was promoting that show at the time, and I was like, I had no interest in watching that, but it's funny. That show is like a classic now. But
Yeah.
anyway, we digress. Stuff like that is awesome at conferences. I love it.
But yeah, you always ask about my NFT project or my um, little digital project, and that is one that I'm planning and thinking on, and still working out how to really get that group dynamic going on. So
Uh oh. Uh
we'll
oh.
talk off air a little later.
Yeah. Don't you know me, man? I get paranoid. Don't say too much.
Oh man, here we go.
I'm the business guy, man. Don't give all your ideas for free. So I love it, man. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So with that being said, let's transition to the news. So speaking of conferences, one conference that's coming out, Netflix announced this recently. It's kind of interesting. The Witcher, the TV show, which came out premiered about a year ago. So it's coming out with season two, and Netflix released a teaser for the season two, but also announced they're going to do a Witcher Con, a virtual Witcher Con, starting July 9th. Are you there for that, Ben? You ready for that content?
No. It's The
They're gonna
Witcher.
make Witcher a thing. They're gonna make Witcher a thing. I have a feeling, man. It's gonna sneak up on us one day, and then you're gonna have people just like this the next Game of Thrones, and I'm like you're gonna have your mother-in-law and you're gonna have your wife all watching it. All of a sudden, you're like, wait a minute, what? Are you serious?
Witcher's fine. I guess it falls in the category to me of like, a better version of Doctor Who, um, Xena Warrior Princess kind of area. That's what it falls into me, and I think it's fine. It can have its group and everything. It's just something I'm not really peeping out for, just because of the style of it. It's not terrible at all, but I don't know.
It was well, two things you said about that. Xena Warrior Princess. Oh wow. You took it back, brother.
Mm,
Took it back.
mm.
That was some painful stuff, man.
I
But there's some fans, man. People love that show, man. People love that show.
I mean, that Hercules and all that, you don't see a kind of a parallel in the styling and the
Oh yeah.
audience?
Real hokey. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Good point. But obviously the production value is a lot better now than they were when Xena was doing syndication,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And Hercules, and young Hercules with young Ryan Gosling. I remembered all those shows, man. Those are some crazy shows back then. And then there was another one. It was like a spinoff. with Gina Torres from Firefly. She she it was they were some
Mm,
warrior woman, and they were it's the same producer pretty much, and it was pretty the same kind of concept. You know, warrior
yeah.
women beating up people, but they were from the future.
So this has enough of an underground following that if you remember in Entourage when Drama's whole fame came from that little show that was kind of like Xena that he was on. This is the direction The Witcher is going in to me.
Man, I don't know, man. I can see it could potentially make the leap, man, because the thing I'm impressed by them, the world building, they have a lot of extensive world building, right?
Hmm.
But the first season was needlessly confusing,
Okay.
right? Unless because the way they introduced everything, you didn't realize that after the fact that it was like three different timelines you were watching, right? But they didn't explain that well enough. So it wasn't until after you read all the after shows and you got looked at it, gets, oh, okay, I see what they're trying to do, right? But so hopefully the season two can make the leap where it all kind of makes sense, right? And so the three different storylines, I think, they were all, it seemed like they were all told in the same timeline, but they weren't, right? And so
Okay.
so the goal is to kind of maybe bring all these three characters together and hopefully it'll make more sense. So that's the goal, but
Okay. So
we'll see.
I'm down for it. I am not a person to throw something in the trash after the first season. I will I will let it sit and wait for people to tell me to come back to it, but I won't throw it in the trash completely. But you said they're having some type of special virtual con for this. How is that going to work?
I have no idea, man. I
Oh.
just saw the news and said, I want to talk about it. True story, man, being very transparent. I have no, Netflix is going to try to do some interesting things. I don't know if they're going to try to, post it on their site or anything like that. It's kind of one of those things where Netflix is just, this is experimenting, man, because they got so much money and they got so much content and they're trying to keep you on that. As a matter of fact, I think I sent it to you, or maybe I read it, but they actually had an article that happened about, I think it was like a month or so ago, where they actually went into the algorithm and why they can't. I think you sent it to me, yeah, on our,
Hmm.
our chat window about why they're canceling content and stuff like that. So it's kind of like it's not so much if it's yes, people may watch it, yes, it may be like the most downloaded show, but it's like a weird mix of like it's got to also bring in new viewers, it's got to get enough outside understanding and traction that more people want to come to the show, come to the Netflix,
Yeah.
as opposed to keeping the audience. If they don't see it's going to grow beyond its current audience, then no matter how big the audience is now, they don't care. It's got to continue to grow. If they don't see it after two seasons or even one season, it's off the air. So,
Yeah.
um, The Witcher, I think they see potential there, and so they're putting a little bit more money beyond just the show itself. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they want. That's why I said it may make that leap, but being Netflix, we talked about this before. Do they have the DNA to make quality content? And that's the question.
Yeah. I think they're giving established or external brands a little more leeway, as opposed to their originals. So we'll definitely see there.
Don't tell that to Mark Millar, man.
Oh, right.
Jupiter's Legacy, but which got canceled after one season.
Yeah,
But
but I don't know. It's going to be interesting though with with the mini cons or the small scale virtual cons that you can do with people. I think that's really interesting. And I can say that's a thing because I watch people like T Pain and Wiz Khalifa and Snoop Dogg. They'll have these little virtual events that nobody knows about until all of a sudden their hashtag is trending. It's like, wait, what was going on? Oh, it was like all day,
Mhm.
man. T Pain was just online for the entire day. He was sending out stuff and giving gifts and
Hmm.
hanging out. And like, oh, I had no idea. So I don't know. Maybe they can catch that wave. It should be cool.
Yeah. Like I said, I hope they do something good. I like Henry Cavill, and hopefully, that's his baby now, and so he's going to take the reins, hopefully with the help of Netflix. So, there's Netflix is scrappy little streamer, but I hope they do well, man. so, so moving on, Black Panther 2, man. So we already talked about this, the title Wakanda Forever, but they just cast someone who is not from Wakanda. Namor. Namor.
Gasp.
Gasp. So Namor the submariner, man. Do you want to give a high level overview of who this dude is, or You want me to kind of talk a little bit about him?
I see. Okay. Well, in short, in short, he's the if you're not thinking about comics, he's just the Marvel version of Aquaman. Now, obviously, that's really diminishing who this guy is because he's definitely his own character. But Prince Namor, the whole Atlantis thing, it still exists in Marvel, kind of as it does in DC. But the important part is not where he comes from. It's just how the character behaves and acts. Instead of being, you know, I guess friendly with the good guys, he's kind of, an
Say it.
antagonist to a lot of.
Say it. Say it.
He's a
He's an asshole. He's
oh
an
yeah, there
asshole.
we go, an asshole. Yeah, that's kind of it. But interesting, he has a deep history with Wakanda, Captain America, and Iron Man. So there are plenty of stories and tales they could pull in to make this whole thing happen. But I don't know. I'm excited for this, man. Let's. I want to see it. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I wasn't a Namor fan until like a comic book series called the Illuminati kind of premiered, and we'll talk about a little bit later when we get into Loki. But he is. I think he was one of the first like Marvel superheroes that popped up in the early days, and then I did not know this. Obviously, he's from Atlantis. He's half Atlantean, but he's also a mutant, so that's why he can fly too. So it's kind of weird. So he's got like an Atlantean and he's a mutant at the same time. So I'm like, sure, whatever floats your boat. So like you said, he's always trying to, do right for his people, but he's a little bit of an asshole. He's kind of got that king complex, right? You're my subjects, you do what I say, but he's never really, done anything crazy. But I guess there's been some ruckus between him and T'Challa, right? Over the years, and they had like a big series, comic book series when they went to war, Wakanda and Atlantis. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of introduce him. So I'm glad they're kind of thinking, man, in Feige we trust. We talk about it, we might as well just go ahead and get t-shirts. But we we I think he knows what he's doing. I mean, obviously we lost a great actor in Chadwick Boseman, and we're probably not gonna have T'Challa. We will not have T'Challa for a while in the Black Panther kind of world of MCU. So it's just good to kind of create something different, right? And so I think this is a good start. So we'll see how it goes. It's I don't know if you watch Narcos at all, but I used to watch that all the time on Netflix. That's what the actor, his name is Tinoch Herrera,
Hmm.
and he came from that show. And so Narcos is a great show. It talks about basically the drug war, right, from Mexico to from Colombia. They even had Pablo Escobar show up in the first couple of seasons. So anyway, so we'll see where this goes, but I'm excited, man.
Cool.
So moving on, let's see. Real quick, we this is show versus business, so it's kind of an interesting take. We got our very own real world Iron Man contentions. We always talk about or excuse me, competition going on in the real world business world. We always talk about Elon, right, and what he's doing, right. He's always trying to be in the in the forefront, doing dead things, showing up on Saturday Night Live, getting shout outs to Dogecoin, so and going to space and talking about the killer AI that's coming. Well, Jeff Bezos, the soon to be retired CEO of Amazon, he's putting his bid in, right, to be the next Iron Man for the real world, and he's actually going to space next month. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but it's just, dude, don't you have enough money where you can just pay someone to take your place for the first launch but anyway, needless to say, and to even I guess increase the likelihood of an accident, he put an auction out there for people who want to go with him to space,
to
and
increase the
someone won.
likelihood of an
And,
accident.
and someone won, and they paid $30 million to go with Jeff Bezos into space next month. Uh, I don't know. I got so many thoughts on this, but what's your quick reaction on this one?
Hey man, that's it's quality control. If you ever, when we used to work at Rockstar Games, it's like, hey, we're doing another. another demo. We're like, all right, and just kind of nod our heads and keep going about our business. And then they say, Sam Hauser and Dan Hauser are going to be coming down to play this game in front of some Sony representatives, and you're going to be in the same room. Suddenly, it's like, oh, okay, there are real people on this flight, not just secondhand background NPCs. So when you put Bezos on a flight, suddenly it's like, y'all better get those temperature regulating plates on the side correct so the fuel gauge doesn't overblow, and yeah,
hmm
we don't want any
I mean, I
accidents.
just Yes, I mean, I haven't seen any details of exactly what the space flight would entail, but I'm assuming it's just going to be just going up high enough above the ionosphere and then come back down. I don't see it like doing an orbit or anything like that, right? But yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, sure, Jeff Bezos. I mean, man, bravo to you, man. You're like the richest man or vying for the richest man in the world. and, and you got a new girlfriend, just divorce your wife. Why not, man? Live
Hey,
your life, brother.
speaking of going places and Namor, why aren't more people going underwater instead of into the space? I don't know.
Yeah, good point, man. Talk to your boy from Titanic, man, James Cameron. I think he was the foremost to say, "Hey, we gotta explore the underseas and all that." But
Oh yeah,
that's interesting. I don't know what's going on. I think space is obviously Elon kind of put his mask on there, and he talked about it, for a while about we need to be an interplanetary species, and then of course you got Richard Branson, from Virgin Atlantic, and all that, and so he's trying to get out there, and now you got Jeff Bezos, right, with Blue Origin. So I mean, I'm a space guy. I actually did an intern at NASA, not to pump my own horn, but so, but yeah, I've always been a space guy, so I'm intrigued about what they want to do. And then also we didn't talk about this in the news. We didn't put this on the show notes, but you remember there's been a lot of stuff in the news about UFO sightings. I don't know if you
yeah.
saw that in the last couple of
Oh
weeks,
yeah, when's that?
and
There's a
so
report that's supposed to be coming out soon, right?
I don't know, but I know that a lot of guys have been, quote unquote, qualified military personnel have seen unseen objects, right, in space, or when they've been flying up there, right, and seeing some things. So look, I mean, sure, I guess I'm pretty sure there's probably alien species out there. I mean, but I think it's one of those things where uh it's like the least of my problems. I got 99 problems and the alien ain't one. So it's kind of like, I mean, what's the point?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, when it comes, it comes. So, but I give it to the billionaires that I guess they're bored or they're looking for ways to get out of this planet just in case something happens. So we just got to keep an eye out what they do so that, if they leave us behind all of a sudden, they just disappear. We know what happened or something's going to happen to this planet.
I'm making a note to finish watching The Expanse. So all right,
Yeah. We'll cover that. Yeah, that would be
moving
good to kind of
moving
catch
on.
up on that. Yeah. So yeah, this is the game side, man. I know you had some thoughts about Roblox and then E3, man. What are your thoughts there in the news lately with what's going on with music publishers
All right,
and Roblox?
so everybody is streaming right now, doing their online live things, their Twitch streams, their YouTube lives, their IGTV lives, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody's getting on doing their thing. But what's um, what's also happening is that music publishers and other intellectual property owners are doing is they're coming after all these streaming platforms for playing their music illegally. If you've ever followed YouTube, you know about copyright strikes. If there's some music playing in the background, YouTube can demonetize you and send all the money that you would have gotten on your video to the copyright owner. They can, shut your channel down, shut your account down. So, yeah, if you go to check your Gmail or whatever, and some video from 6 years ago had, I got five on it playing in the background, and you get a copyright strike years later, you could be locked out of your Google account entirely. I mean, stuff can happen. So, what's happened recently is music publishers have started coming after Roblox, and Twitch has already, they've already dealt with Amazon, and they're coming after you that way. So basically, it's we're going into a new era where we're as content creators, as people online, as your regular, you know, Sally and Joe, you've got to deal with all these copyright issues now. It's a strange world, but I mean, it makes sense.
No, dude, that's very well said. I mean, I'm just looking at Roblox market cap. It's 52, almost $53 billion, and I think their stock is at, as last I checked here, is about $92, which is obviously a high for when they opened up around 60. A couple months ago. So they got money, sure.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. So someone's got that money. It's the music industry, or somebody's going to come get a piece.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, my kids are on Roblox, and they were listening to what's his name, Lil Nas X, right?
Hmm.
I guess you go now. Some of they have sanctioned worlds, as creators, and then they kind of some of the artists do sanction, their content to be playing there. But they knew all the songs for like Drake, and I'm like, where are you listening to this from? Oh yeah, on Roblox. I'm like, what's going
Yeah,
on over there?
yeah.
So I mean,
TikTok made headway when it actually integrated music licensing and music, the choice of music into their app. So it's not like you had to play some random song. You could actually go to an option inside TikTok, select, hey, I want to play this music, and automatically it gives you like a 30-second clip. It's calculated, tabulated, recorded, and music companies are using this as a way to figure out what's hot right now, what people are listening to. They're using it as a way to break new artists even. So yeah, some new artist could become hot, and you're like, where did that come from? It's like, oh, he's all the rage on TikToks and Roblox, son. Where you been? It's like,
yeah, yeah, they use that for negotiation on points and all that kind of stuff. But to be fair, musically, remember that was out there first, and that was the one that I think they had a lot of algorithm stuff that
mhm.
TikTok just basically appropriated, right, and put into their system. So I don't know if musically had that licensing type technology, but it sounds like
I
that was in the basis of it, in the
Yeah,
guts
and
of it.
for those of you who don't know, TikTok is basically the next version of Musically. If you're wondering where Musically went, um, legal ownership, name, branding, uh, change of hands, and all that, corporate restructuring, whatever you want to call it, all that happened all at once. And next thing you know, TikTok pops out the other end. So it didn't just come from nowhere. Um, and they totally revamped the algorithm side of it and the licensing side. So I wasn't on Musically early. I can't tell you how above the board they were, but yeah, TikTok is that next iteration of that.
Well, I wouldn't say they're above the board. I mean, it's still owned by Chinese
Oh well,
government. So,
that's
so who knows exactly what they're doing? Well, we know exactly what teenagers like to listen to, and so when we need to do something, we're ready.
right, right. Definitely not above the board in that sense.
So,
Owned by the Chinese, and no one knows what they're doing with all this massive amounts of data that they're collecting.
yeah, their servers are actually even in I think in mainland China. So anyway, we'll do some deep dives on that, but security is going to be a key thing maybe in the future for TikTok. So and then we talked about conferences too, man. E3, man. Any high level thoughts on E3? You excited about it?
Now, see, this is why I get upset with the game industry when there's something that they should be doing and they don't. Um, you got a virtual E3 and a bunch of game developers couldn't come up with something exciting, and that pisses me off. Um, it's like it's virtual. What's going on? Oh, there's going to be another Halo. It's like, man, you think is that it? That's all you got? Y'all supposed to be innovating in this virtual space, and you got people like Travis Scott and Fortnite making all the innovations. Man, get out of here.
So long story short, you're not hype at all for the virtual E3.
I mean, once again, it's just some videos I can watch later. People stopped going to E3 when it was in person because it was just let me get a bunch of people in an auditorium, play a video, and say, "Hey, this is great." That's not how E3 started. E3 started as all these parties, actual. It was actually a lot of the conference sessions. You would get down and talk with people, make deals. There was a lot more of that going on. there were um, there was a lot of swag you could pick up, you know, exclusives like they had for Comic Con or whatever. You would come out of there with jackets, with chains. Um, I remember the year Konami released a vinyl album and people were fighting
Oh,
over it.
nice.
I sold mine for a couple $100 on eBay. Holla, you know.
Come up.
But yeah, this you figure these guys would be able to do something awesome with the digital space, and the industry really beats up on a lot of the people trying to make something new and different. And it's sad that it has to be games where that's the case, but that is the case. So
Yeah, for virtual, there's some innovations coming in virtual space. I mean, it may not be coming from the conference coordinators themselves for these different conferences, but check out like startups like Hopin, Hopin. They're trying to do some interesting things where you can kind of pop in. They can create like virtual, meetups with everyone, random meetups that you can have one-on-one with folks. So there's some startups that try to do some interesting things. There's one startup that just got like tons of money. I can't remember their name right now, but I'll show, maybe put it in show notes, but they are trying to do some interesting things there where they got like random, we talked about just kind of lucky kind of connections, and so they're trying to create that in a virtual atmosphere where I'm like I'm on one form, and then I can talk to somebody randomly, right? Oh yeah, you like Thor, I like Thor, oh let's talk. So they're trying to create these kind of random meetings, right, to kind of get people excited in the virtual experience. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. But let's move on, man. Let's talk a little bit about the feature story today: crypto and NFT. We haven't talked about them in a minute, so let's just use this period of time to get caught up on what's the latest of NFT, Ben. So as a fearless reporter out there in the streets, man, talking to the NFT folks,
NFTs.
what's the latest, man? What's the latest and greatest?
NFTs are still the rage. There was a bit of I don't want to say a complete collapse, but the numbers for all of crypto kind of dropped for a while. But what we've got going on now is a very interesting situation. And speaking of games and E3, people are trying to figure out, okay, NFTs are good for art and collectibles, but another place we also use collectibles is in the video game area. So where can we really get a big return from NFTs, these non-fungible tokens, and video games? And that comes in the place of collectibles, in-game items, your money, your entire accounts. And the idea is that if I have something I own on my on my in my account that's not attached to, let's say, a Microsoft or a Sony or whatever, I just have my own items, then I can do what I want with those, and that opens up a very interesting space for gaming. um I mean, I don't know, are you into any of this kind of gaming ecosystem, if you ever played any games like that have a lot of valuable items?
Yeah, I was for a second, man. I can't remember. I knew you were gonna ask me, and I
Uh-oh.
can't remember the name of the game. But yeah, I know I'm stuck now. I think it was Clash of Kings. I think that was, or maybe I'm just talking that because that's on the show notes. But there was one game that I played a lot of. No, Honor of Kings. I think it was Clash of Kings.
Clash of
It
Clans.
was basic. Clash of Clans. Thank you. Ooh, that's hard to say, but yes, I did play that a I did the early days, and so what would happen? You would play, get excited, and then you said, oh, you would die or something, or you needed one item. So I was like, okay, let me just buy $5. Let me just go ahead and do this $5, get these items real quick. So I ended up spending like it was free to play, right? But then I ended up spending like maybe about $30, right? So I can keep playing the game
Yeah.
and build on it because it kind of reminded me of Civilization, which I was a Civilization head back in the day. So anyway, so make a long story short, I get and I think Farmville was really hot back in the day on Facebook. So I get these free to play and these digital assets, and it's a brilliant strategy. I mean, to kind of get people to kind of want to play it more often. But you're right. I mean, that's kind of how we know what NFT, kind of intuitive what NFTs are, because we dealt with digital assets, right? But to what you're saying is basically we'll be able to take these digital assets with us into different games, right? So if I got a skin from like World of Warcraft that I can take with me potentially. I mean, right now you can't because it's owned by Blizzard. But if I take it with me, if it's opened up that way, then I can take it to any game with me, and that would be huge. So, and I think that's what quote unquote GameStop is trying to potentially. I say that in parentheses because GameStop, we don't know what they're going to do. Right now, they're a meme stock, and they're just to the moon. That's all
Yeah.
we know. But they're kind of hinting at they're going to try to figure out a way to create some technology that allows you to take, whatever digital assets you have from a game to another game. I guess that's high level from my understanding.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Yeah. Take things cross game. That's definitely a possibility. But I think what's gonna hit people most is just the ability to do whatever you want or handle your own items however you want to. Traditionally, companies, they have a big bubble, a fence around what you do with their in-game items. And if you give them the opportunity to say, wait, I own this in-game item, okay, I'm going to do something really interesting with this. And you're like, wait, what are you talking about? And it's like, don't worry, Blizzard or whoever you are, you'll find out later. So I could amass all these items, right? Go stand out in front of Target and say, hey, everybody who you know, gives me $5, I'll exchange on my phone an item with you. And you can just start trading however you want. You could uh,
Mm.
you could just put contests up on the internet where you can trade stuff however you want. Um, in fact, if these things are uniquely identified, somebody could go buy up all of the certain type of asset and actually destroy them if they wanted to. So I mean, it's crazy the amount of things that you could that the people that the community is actually going to start doing outside of what Nintendo wants, what any of these companies want, and that's kind of a problem for them. But right now, it seems like more of a you know this is what the people want, so you got to give it to them situation.
Mhm. I'm just surprised they don't just figure out how to take a cut, take their vig, of this new marketplace. I mean, yeah, you created it, but if people buy it, like I think there was one story that we wrote here that says someone for a game, free to play game called Honor of Kings, they spent 22 million on a hero skin of a Chinese military general.
Yeah,
Basically,
that's how
spent
serious it
22
is.
million to buy. Basically, his avatar now has the skin of a Chinese military general, and he spent 22 million on that. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't he should be able to do what he wants with that, right? I mean, he spent
No,
22
so
million
so listen,
dollars.
yeah, in this situation, what he's done in this Honor of Kings situation, because this is not an NFT. Um, what they do, and this is goes back to EverQuest, World of Warcraft, Eve Online. What you basically do is you say, "Hey, I have this account with all this stuff on it. I'm selling it to somebody," and you post it up on eBay or Reddit or whatever marketplace you find. Somebody says, "I'll pay that money," and you two regular people work out this weird deal where you transfer your password and account name. um, you could change email addresses to that person's email address, everything you need to switch the account over to that person basically, and then hopefully they send you the money. I say hopefully because scam malicious nature of the internet, right? And somebody would cough up 22 million for that.
Wow. Yeah. So we live in a weird world right now, but that's just interesting to me. Like I said, we'll keep up to date on how this evolves. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of celebrities kind of highlighting this and kind of pushing it, which makes sense. They're influencers, right? Or influencers because it helps them create new ways of generating interest in what they're building. So with that being said, I'll cover a little bit of the crypto beat, right? I think I mentioned it last week, but I was in Miami last weekend and happened to be at the same time as the Bitcoin conference
Ooh.
that happened there. Yes, the first big international Bitcoin conference. They expected 50,000 people. Only 12,000 showed up, but that's pretty big for a post-pandemic, kind of conference. And that's why they think it might be a super spreader event
Uh-oh.
because some of the attendees mentioned that they just got COVID. They tested positive for COVID.
Ah,
So was this a shit show? I don't know. Still early to tell. But between that, is potential for a super spreader event and the long lines and heat, it definitely has the makings of one. But it seems like a lot of people had excitement, and there's some interesting stories came out of it, right? I think some of the high level ones was that country, El Salvador, introduced a bill to make Bitcoin legal tender. And guess what? It is now legal. So now you can use Bitcoin legally in El Salvador to buy things, which, is always good, as more countries start to adapt Bitcoin. We'll get into the second, but is Bitcoin going to be ultimately that, that true currency, kind of like we thought it was? People are still thinking Bitcoin is going to be the store of value, right? That, you just kind of keep like gold and kind of hold off to protect against inflation. Like, but we'll see what they're going to do with it. A couple other quick news stories. DeFi, so basically decentralized finance projects were top of everyone's minds, and I know you sent me a nice little podcast where Mark Cuban kind of talked about that in detail of what's going on there, which makes sense, right? The way to kind of get away from centralized control of our finances, centralized bank which has control over interest rates, things like that. If we can do decentralized
yeah.
model, it could make things a little bit more easier, faster, potentially, no longer control based economy.
I mean,
So
even PayPal decided to jump in on this action.
yeah, definitely. It makes sense, man. I mean, because they see where the trends are, right? And so I read somewhere though that the reason why Bitcoin obviously is going down now, I think as of this recording, I think it's at 39,000 or so, which is still from the highs, and it was as high as 60,000 just, a couple, about 5, 6 weeks ago. But obviously there's a crackdown in China, so that was a huge bit of where miners were coming from, but also institutional money, right? They're taking money away a little bit, right? They're kind of like, let's see where this kind of ends up. But I think there's a lot of passion still in this. Obviously, that was shown by the Bitcoin conference that I don't think Bitcoin will go. I mean, well, crypto won't go away. Bitcoin, we'll see. It may get replaced because is it truly useful? As we both know, it's not really used effectively as a currency mechanism because of the speeds and other things that you're doing with it. So, but we do feel like crypto is probably not going to go anywhere because it's just too much passion, energy. And speaking of which, Jack Dorsey, who is, get this, co-CEO of both Twitter and Square, so I don't know how he does both jobs, said he believed there was nothing more important in his lifetime than to work on Bitcoin. So I guess Jack Dorsey, which controls Twitter, which is what are you about to say? Go ahead.
That's an impressive statement by him.
Yes, nothing more important in my lifetime. So he owns Twitter, which is basically a media company. Let's just put it out there,
Mhm.
and Square, which is a finance company, right? So I have a quick prediction. Are we going to see more Bitcoin content on Twitter Spaces, which is the Clubhouse copy that they have out there?
Wait, what kind of house? Club something?
Clubhouse,
Club?
Clubhouse. Oh yeah, you
What
forgot
is
about
that?
Clubhouse already?
Oh, I forgot. Oh, that. I totally forgot about that.
You
Yeah.
forgot about
Yeah,
Clubhouse?
right, right.
That was like
Nonsense.
the hottest thing during the pandemic, man. Oh my god.
Nonsense house. So yeah,
So what do you think?
the dude, okay. Everything sounds good on paper, and we're in kind of a little bit of a storm right now because people are waiting to find out what happens. Um, and I'm sorry, I said storm. I meant like a little calm before the storm because
Mhm.
you've got you've got governments that are built on monetary systems and they don't want things to change, or they really want things to change. This is why El Salvador is even a thing. And you've got countries like Russia, China, um, both Koreas talking about making crypto moves. It's like, okay, this could get really interesting. Um, and veiled threats of like, well, hey, if you if we put too much into this, we can just cut off all Bitcoin transactions in our country if we want to. And it's like, yeesh, okay. So you've got the government and you've got banks that really are dependent on all these fees. And if you know banks, one of the things that they say is like, hey, look, we never lose money. There's no going down in terms of the income. They're always getting it from somewhere, whether it's fees, whether it's charges, interest rates on things or something. They're going to get their money. So with crypto, they're not just going to say, yeah, this is the new technology. We should learn to live with it. They're about to fight. And of course, you've got people like Mark Cuban, um, Jack Dorsey, and all these big players, Elon Musk, that are going to make moves. And it's really strange that that no one knows what's going to happen, but there's so much potential money floating around. And it's so of course Jack Dorsey is going to get in on this, but I don't know, man. It's just really weird, and I'm keeping my eye out every day.
Yeah, and obviously something that's interesting too, just the whole fact that, I kind of put the statistic out there almost every time I can. 25% of black folks invest in crypto versus 70% of white folks. And so I say that only to say just, there's a lot in the black community that's just kind of pushing this. I mean, there's a lot of celebrities, African American celebrities that are pushing this. And then I think Hill Harper, an actor, who's talking about this crypto exchange out there and trying to hype it up. So it's really interesting time. I mean, so you see, um, you know, crypto went up, right? And then obviously you had a lot of interest in the black community, but now you're seeing, people kind of bashing crypto from institutional, uh, geopolitical from Chinese, and then also security wise, saying, "Oh, this is a currency, that, or this is something that a lot of folks use to do illegal transactions, or we need to figure out a way to how to tax it, right?" And so there's a lot of things, like you said, is happening right now. So just buyer beware. That's what I
Yeah.
always say. But I mean, I'm in it, just full transparency. I got just a little bit, not much, but just to see what happens. I do feel there's too much passion and energy in this for this to just go away totally. But it will evolve, kind of like crypto kitties, right?
Hmm.
Evolved into NFTs. So it's roundabout way, right? So I think that we'll see crypto kind of start to evolve a little bit. But you're right. I think there's going to be still some kind of control mechanism, because they need to understand how to tax it and they need to understand how to get their fees. And those are the two things, right? If they can't get that, man, the government can't get their taxes and these banks can't get their fees, man, crypto is dead, dead, dead.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's going to be hard fighting against the banks and in conjunction with the banks, the governments, because they're going to come after you. And what are you going to do then? Get mad?
exactly. They're already starting to come after a way to figure out how to create like an international tax, right? Where, big thing now is, you can, like, governments are trying to transfer the money to Ireland or something like that to get a better tax rate, right? And so they're trying to figure out how to like just have a standard international tax no matter where you go. So these centralized governments are going to try to figure out how to get control on some, because that's how not to be conspiracy theory Jeff or Rogan, thinking like Rogan, but they're gonna figure out a way to keep control of you some kind of way. So this financial monetary policy is going to be interesting over the next couple of years with these crypto stable coins, all this stuff kind of popping up. So real quick, let's end on a funny note, man. I know we're kind of doing something dark here with
No,
this
no. I mean,
crypto.
hey, some people think this ride is fun as hell. So yeah.
Let's end on a funny note with our main man, Money Mayweather,
Oh
Floyd
god.
Money Mayweather. So, he had a big fight with big time influencer Logan Paul last Sunday actually. There's a lot of different ways we can cover this, man. So obviously there's a crypto angle here too. That's why we're bringing it up now. So maybe go ahead and talk about the crypto angle, man. I'll talk a little bit about the fight angle.
Okay. Well, there's not too much to say on that, but one weird thing I noticed is I'm watching. I didn't watch the fight, but I was looking at some highlights, and I noticed he had a sponsor on his shorts, that I didn't recognize. Usually I'm thinking I'm going to see Tecate, some beer, some car company or something. But in this fight, there's Cash App on the ropes, and gosh, I can't find the link anymore, but some random company on his shorts. And I was like, okay, who's this random company and why would Mayweather make this money deal with these guys? So I went and searched for it. Man, this is the kind of scamalicious company that, in fact, even if I did have the link, I wouldn't put it out there. You can go find it for yourself. But this was just some scamalicious company like, hey, guys, listen, crypto is big, but what you need to do is transfer your tokens over into this format. And we have just the service to do that because when we transfer, we do X, Y, and Z and blah, blah, blah. You buy crypto, DeFi, FUD. And it just started going into all this. And I'm looking at this website like, who are you fooling, man? Who are you fooling? Seriously. And it there was no it's one of those things where people talk roundabout and you're at the end of it, you're like, but why do I need this? And they're like, dude, you need this. And you're like, no, I don't. But yeah, it just seemed like a lot of crypto babble, and a lot of weird exchanges, financing of your own crypto and putting it into certain accounts. And it just seemed bad. So,
Bad, bad, bad.
but yeah, but somebody somewhere in some foreign country, because it didn't seem like it was American born, decided to put together this website and all this money together. And Floyd, he's just gonna be like, huh? How much money to put on my shorts? Let's go. Had me laughing, dog.
Oh, dude, this is hilarious. And he also said, I think there was also an announcement that he had NFT collection that he was going to premiere. So, but you're right, it might be affiliated with this shady company. So it's a lot of shadiness going on out there, and folks are just promoting it. And I mean, I guess I get it, if you're just about that money, but buyer beware, man. So real quick on that fight, it's like I think you kind of hinted at in the show notes, man. This dude made basically Mayweather made about $50 million on this fight, right? And he's 44 years old. I mean, how else is gonna make a payday like that? And if you watch the fight, there was a part in there where I didn't see the fight, but I saw snippets as well, where basically he literally looked like he knocked out Logan Paul and he held him up because basically I think he had a bonus for if it went the distance. So
Ooh,
as a money man,
ooh.
as a money guy, I can't knock this dude out. So I'm gonna make it seem like he is still fighting me.
Whoa,
so
whoa. Hold on, hold
so
on, hold on,
yeah,
Mr. Paul. Hold on, Mr. Paul. Take it easy. Take it easy. I got you. I got you. One more round.
take it easy. Yeah, one more round. Let's get this money, man. I'm money Mayweather. Mayweather.
Ooh.
So so he was always thinking about that money. I think he put here in the show notes. He's supposed to get at $50 million. Jordan earned roughly 90 million his whole career. In one fight, he's basically 2/3 of the way there, over 2/3 of the way there. So I'm over half of the way there. So it's like one of those things where Mayweather is making his thing happen, and so I can't fault him for it, but it's making a mockery. I guess is that why you think Dana White, who's the UFC chairman, why he doesn't like it? He thinks it's make a mockery of fighting in general.
Oh, well, all the UFC guys are purists where it's like, hey, you get in there, you fight, and you either win or you lose, and that's the end of it. And they're very purist on the fight aspect of it. And I get where they're coming from, but I'm always out here like, come on, guys, you got to do a little better on the showmanship. You got to get out of your Joe Rogan crowd, make it a little more appealing to people that are just regular people, right? Because if I don't know if you've ever been to like a bar and it has a big, you know, MMA fight or whatever, it's the same group of people. And if you want to get to the level of soccer, boxing, basketball, football, or whatever, you got to update the experience a little bit. You can't just have guys breaking arms and whatnot, and you know screaming with bloody mouths and jumping on the cage. It's like, okay, I love it and I get it, but Mr. Dana White, you gotta grow the brand a little bit.
So hot take, Ben. You out here hating on UFC? So
Nah, man.
Mr. Benja
Oh,
said he hates UFC, guys.
oh goodness. You and the forex traders can meet me in the comments. You know those guys.
But you're correct. I would agree that product has not changed because I literally went saw a fight like years ago. It was hype. It was like George St. Pierre. I think that was the fighter's name. It was
Okay.
really hype. But you're right. It has not changed since then. I mean, when you see a fight and you get excited about it, but after that, it's like this is the same stuff, and it's like and the fighters don't have long careers because they can't. I mean, dude, if you get kicked in the head that much, you wouldn't have a long career either. So it's hard
Yeah.
to, oh yeah, this is going to be a 10-year run. Oh, he's gonna dominate. Nah, dude, these dudes don't dominate nothing, man. I mean, maybe at the beginning when you just had like the Gracies, right? I think they were dominating so much because they understood the rules better than everyone else, and so they knew if you got people on the ground, they dominate the ground. So I think they had a nice run, but since then, everybody's kind of figured it out, and so the, they need to kind of think through it. But ESPN bought them out, and so we'll see what ESPN can do. But I'm not hopeful, right? And boxing itself, right, I think is on the doorstep because of death. Because if you're doing exhibition fights like this with a 44-year-old boxer and an influencer, I mean, it's a done deal, dude. I mean, this was not a fight, and they made money off of it because
Hmm.
people paid to see it. Now, a real fight, real fighters out there, they're not paying to see that. That's sad.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, as I said, if somebody's going to show you how to advance, and you're gonna advance no matter what, whether you want to, and or you don't want to, and you end up getting shuffled out the door. The system is going to advance, and right now, you need you need the influencer, you need the story, you need the presentation, and yeah, Joe Rogan's only on Spotify now, so you're not going to be able to hear him talk about it as much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, it's a license agreement. He can always leave, so we'll see. He might get back out there again. Especially now, you saw that Amazon has a direct payment model, so for podcasters. So, be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of years with Joe Rogan. So anyway, business. Always think about business. Sorry, he may get out of that deal and try to do his own direct to consumer thing because he's got a big enough brand to do so, right? So more to come on that. Unless Spotify comes out some kind of way to figure out, exactly who his audience is and how he can really reach them better. But if they're not doing that, he'll just jump over to Apple or Facebook because they're trying to figure out ways to monetize, podcasts now. So that's the future.
Yeah, I look at that deal the same way I looked at the Howard Stern deal when he went to Sirius. It's like, he just kind of disappeared, at least from the public eye. And it's
Mm,
like once you've disappeared from the public eye, okay, you've got your private audience, but it's a problem if you're not in the public eye. So
mhm.
how do you fix that? You got to pull a
Yeah, how you stay relevant?
right. You got to pull something like what's his name from HBO did politically incorrect. Um,
Oh yeah, Bill Maher.
yeah,
Yeah.
you got to do like Bill Maher. You've got to have an outlet where you always bring people into HBO or whatever
Mhm.
platform. Like, is Joe Rogan constantly being seen on TV or in the news or whatever, bringing people over to Spotify? I'm not sure. I don't see it.
Good point. Good point. Yeah. Oh, this is a bit interesting business conversation because, oh man, I can't remember his name, but he had a good show. He used to be on the Daily Show. Man, what was his name? He was Indian, but he had a good show on
Hmm.
Netflix. He ran for 2 seasons,
Hassan?
and it was kind. Yeah, it's on Minaj. Yep, and he had a yeah, good catch, man. Good stuff. I love it. He was on Netflix for 2 years, and I think they were kind of experimenting with the algorithm to see is this going to bring new people to the Netflix, and I guess they figured out it wasn't. So I don't think Netflix is going to invest in this kind of political disclosure anymore. So that's unfortunate. But I thought it was interesting. They experimented to see if they could do the same thing like HBO with other folks, but looks like it doesn't work. People are not interested on the streaming services, which
Yeah.
is definitely unfortunate. So anyway,
Now,
it's going to be interesting.
last thing on that, or for me at least, what might be interesting is figuring out ways to connect these people through NFTs and tokens. I
Oh,
don't
dude.
I don't think that Mayweather is. I don't even know if he's capable of thinking it through in terms of the technical aspect and the branding aspect. Um, but I've been seeing the rumblings of what Gary V did with his V friends. You've
Mhm.
got somebody's out there with a token that says, "Hey, 5 times a year I get to jump on a Zoom call with Gary V because I own the NFT." And he's building his community. And I don't think, I think if you don't have a community in the future, if you don't have that brand, then I don't know what you are. So hook it up with the brand, Hassan. Make sure that whatever you're doing is tangible to your digital audience.
No, I love it. I mean, we talked about this a couple of months ago where NFTs could be like that gateway to kind of create your own economy as an influencer, right? So
Yep,
it's kind of
yep.
like your token for as an influencer. So yeah, the token allows you special access behind the scenes or like live performances, things like that. And so I think NFTs could be that for like folks like Hassan Minaj or Mayweather. But you gotta have good content, right? They can't just okay guys, we're gonna do NFT and you're just gonna watch me train, But hey, maybe that's what people want to see. So, I mean, because Mayweather, I'm in Tampa. He has a boxing, kind of fitness gym here,
Okay.
and I think he has some, other ones. So I think that'd be awesome. Who would want to see how Mayweather trains, right? For boxing and stuff like that. So, buy an NFT, and then if you don't want it, you can just resell it into the NFT, the Mayweather NFT marketplace, right? And probably make more money off of it. So I think if they're thinking like, is have you seen that yet with the V friends, Gary V friends? Is there a lot of resale going on right now? Or is it just you buy the token and then that's it?
There's a little bit of resale going on, but you got to remember, many of Gary Vee's tokens are extremely high price. Well,
Yeah.
relatively speaking, you're talking about $75,000 tokens, um,
Oh, geez.
and $15,000 to $10,000 tokens on the low end. And these are like, hey, I want to speak with Gary. I want Gary Vee to be a speaker at my event. Once a year. Boom. That's a 100+ thousand dollar token or whatever. So it's a weird thing that it is. Um, but is anybody else really thinking about it on that level, thinking 10, 20, 40 years out? I don't know.
Nah, commend him, man. So everyone, hey, as always, we keep you guys up to latest, the greatest, what's going on with NFTs, crypto, influencer marketplace, because this is where it's going. So, with that being said, let's get into our recap.
Recap.
Loki, episode 1. So, oh man, there's so many different ways we can go with this, man. So, yeah. So, do you want to give a high level overview of what happened this episode?
um, so right off the bat, we actually have a bit of a differing opinion here. So I'll go ahead and throw my version out there. Just an overview, not how I liked it, how I felt about it. Basically, you've got your two things are happening here. We're introducing Loki, and his. And when I say introducing him, we've only known him as this kind of character that's kind of been pushed around by life or whatever. Now we get to actually know Loki. And spoiler on, if you've seen the episode, you should look at how they're spending time to actually break down the character. You had Owen Wilson literally speaking to him like, "Hey, what do you want? What are you trying? Do you really like being like this?" So we're in a situation where Loki is trapped, and he's got to find a way to um, get back to what he wants to do. But then the question is, what do you really want to do, Loki? And in this situation, what are you going to do? We're giving you an opportunity to free yourself, to help out the world, the universe, or whatever. Um, but we're not going to just let you go about your way. Uh, that was extremely high level in terms of how the show is going, but it's important because it's setting up Loki and it's setting up the rest of the MCU. Um, I don't know if you want to jump in on any of the exact story beats. We can back and forth this a little bit, Theo.
Yeah, so 10-second overview. Loki from 2012, after getting his ass beat by the Avengers, gets adopted by the Time Variance Authority. He's a disbeliever, but after they beat his ass a couple times, he realized they're real. Finds out that Mobius, who's the time cop there for him, says, "I need you to work with me together," and we go after a variant version of you that's been messing up the timeline. So that's my 20-second overview of what happened in this episode, and that's the beginning of what we're gonna get into. So uh high level take is all right. I mean, so I'm gonna watch it because it's Marvel and I get where they're trying to go with it, but I'm getting tired of the trolling, to be honest with you.
Oh, right.
There's a lot of trolling going on here, a lot of interesting concepts they're gonna throw at us. But I guarantee by I don't know how many episodes this is, by the end of the series, we're gonna be the same way we were with WandaVision
Hmm.
and with you know, Captain Black American Falcon. So I think, you know, I get where they're going with it, right? We'll talk about the theories because this is what the internet does, right? Stuff is introduced in these TV shows, and man, the internet explodes with theories like, "Oh, this is who is this? This is what was going to happen." And we're gonna, and then, dude, at the end, we get something like Rick Boner. I know I keep saying that; it's just hilarious. Rick
Boner.
Boner will show up and it just negate everything you just saw. And it was just, about the friends you met along the way. Shout out to Andy Greenwald for the watch.
Yeah.
But just did nothing really happen, right? It's just about the journey of who Loki is a character, which is fine. So that's my premise is like, I think it's fine if you like Loki, and that's where you're going to end up at this. Now the other concepts, I think it's just going to be like background colors, which makes sense as we get into the more under the movies, which will probably explain all this in more better detail. But
Mhm.
now we got nice color, right? But we're not going to reveal anything of substance, right, in
Yeah.
these shows, in my opinion. So anyway, so that's my high level synopsis and take. So where do you want to go from there?
Okay, so it's interesting. I totally agree with you on the trolling bit, and what we mean by that is I don't know if you've seen WandaVision or if you've seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but basically they introduce these characters, and at the end of the series, not too much really changes. You've introduced characters, but there's really no resolution to anything. It's just like stuff happened. Um, and we will keep repeating boner until Marvel sends us a cease and desist on that one. Um, that because that was terrible. I hate them for that.
That was the worst thing ever, man. Oh my god,
Yeah.
dude. When they introduced that, anyway, we'll
Yeah.
get into it.
If you're watching WandaVision, one day you'll hear the word boner and you'll be like, "Oh my god, that." Anyway, um, but yeah, maybe they'll get better at it at this kind of trolling where no one's expectations are high. But I'm looking at it now as a complete character introspective story because Loki is literally trying to find himself. And that whole Owen Wilson scene, I thought it was dragging on for a bit long. It's like, "Hey man, here's your history. What are you really about?" And he's like, I'm the god of mischief." It's like, "No, Loki, I don't believe you. What are you really about?" And this thing went on. And I'm like, i- are, really? Are you going to really spend this much time, you know, banging on this thing?" And they did. And so now I'm like, okay, I could see this going really sappy toward the end where, he's all crying and happy and, you know, maybe some other Asgardian shows up, and it's like, "Hey Loki, uh I always went to bat for you." Maybe Heimdall will show up and hug him or something. I don't know, something dumb.
Heimdall.
You know,
Trash.
Heimdall, the guy with the two the shaved head in
Yeah, played
Ragnarok.
by Urban, the guy from The Boys. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
in that.
You'll
Yeah.
get you'll probably get some random guy from Asgard or Loki's history to come in there and give him a hug and say, "Hey, you're awesome." And you change the world for the better. I don't know what that's going to lead into in terms of the rest of the MCU, but I'm actually very interested in this show just because of its connection to the MCU. I mean, I
Oh
literally
goodness.
think, oh, you
They
don't think it's
got you,
gonna?
man.
It's
They
they got
got you.
me.
They got you.
Ah, they.
Well, we'll cover the theories, man. I wrote them down in the show notes, so we'll cover all that. Hot take, hot take. Um, do you think when they started these shows that there was a different direction that they may wanted to advance storylines in these shows, but then Feige came in at the last minute, and was like, nope, we're not going to introduce anything of interest in these shows. We want to keep it focused on the movies. I think the original direction was to introduce interesting concepts, and that's why every one of them start off with great concepts and interesting thoughts, but they end up with collective fart, basically. And so,
Mm,
because I think the powers that be just said, you know what, this is not the direction we want to go in. Maybe the pandemic changed their thoughts or whatever, and they just like, you know what, let's just change the storylines enough where everything is just, as long as the character gets from point A to point B, so they're ready for the next movie, then we're good to go. So that's my hot take. I think they may have changed direction in the middle of the film of these and just say, you know what, we're not going to introduce anything of consequence at all.
hmm. That's a good question. I actually think that they may have had this idea from the get go and didn't
Mm.
care. Didn't care what people thought as much. Like, well, it's Marvel. They're gonna come with this, duh. And if they save their big revelations for the movies, that's your money bank right there. You got your Disney Premier access and you've got your theater following. Um, I mean, what happens if Black Widow comes out and people are like, I haven't been that excited about getting out to a theater. I haven't been that excited to pay Premier access. I've got Disney Plus and all these Marvel shows on Disney. Why would I go watch that? And then suddenly, after Saturday or Sunday rolls around and it's like you're hearing all this buzz. Oh my God, dog, in Black Widow, they did this, this, and this, and that happened. And yo, this character showed up and he died, man. I don't believe it. I mean, they killed. And you're like, whoa, really?
Oh my god, I almost died.
Where something actually happened, and when we say something actually happened, we mean there's a turning um, point in terms of a revelation, a change of mindset, a character changes their direction by dying or becoming something else. These are what we mean when we say something happened, where you look back and say, at this point, this thing changed, and going forward, it will never be the same again. So I think they're definitely saving that for the movies, and I actually think it was intentional all the way. They just never really sold it to
Mhm.
us as such.
But they put so much interesting concepts and ideas into this. It's like, that's a lot to put in there and then troll everybody. It just seems like, it doesn't seem like the Marvel way, right? I mean, they never had to troll before. I guess that's the thing. So it's kind of like now you're trolling so hard. It's just like, dude, that don't even seem like you. Why you gotta be like that, man? Yeah, it doesn't seem like a character. Because they never had to, right? It was always about like, next story and building the characters, but giving you good revelations. But slight twists here and there based on the original stories. So now these movies, these TV shows come out, and it's like nothing but a troll job. It's just like we got all these great concepts and things that were introduced. So I mean, to be fair, so I mean, let's get into a little bit of deep dive of what we see potentially coming to this, right? I mean, I can kind of talk a little bit about reason. So obviously, we know the Loki's head writer, Michael Waldron. He's also in charge of writing the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which is the Doctor Strange sequel that's going to introduce the multiverse, and Wanda will show up in that as well. So to be fair, this may not be as bad of a troll job because there may be a lot of concepts that he's trying to lay the foundation for. So when you do see Doctor Strange 2, it's going to be like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. I remember what's going on. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, I do feel like I'm about to get, like what Lucy and Charlie Brown the football. Oh, here's the multiverse. Get excited. Get excited. I'm running. Oh yeah, I'm about to go see what
Ooh,
oh, he took it away. It's just Rick Boner
yeah.
showed up again.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. I'm totally with you. Multiverse of madness, but you realize, or you did you catch when they actually mentioned multiverse and madness within like two sentences of each other? So
Troll.
troll man. They're like talk yeah, and if you start branching off too far, there's going to end up with a multiverse. And anytime that happens, it leads to madness. I'm like, oh, did you guys just plug in a commercial that hard?
And Doctor Strange will show up.
Eh, Yeah, yeah, and they never like say it straight out. They're like, and there's things are going to be strange. You'll need you'll need a doctor to straighten out. It's like what?
It would be strange. You'll need a doctor
You're like, wait, what are you talking about? Are you?
and a witch.
Is this neuro linguistic programming? What are you doing out here? Come on, MCU.
Oh man, this is hilarious, man. Just to see him in real time try to create, compelling TV shows. So this is amazing to me. So uh I mean, let's get into it, man. I mean, so this whole concept of time and the time variant authority, it's just like to me, so I kind of put this like deeper dive on some of my notes. Obviously, Loki works on a couple levels. You got this buddy cop show, right, where basically Loki and Mobius are going to go after another Loki, which, sure, that works on the TV level, right? It's kind of like, what's it called,
On
Law and Order, time variant edition,
oh,
so dum dum
don't
dum dum
don't.
dum dum bum 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 bum.
I
So you
thought I
got
thought you were
Loki.
about to say Quantum Leap.
Well, kind of Leap was more like, helping people, kind of like what's that show back in the day? Highway to Heaven. I don't know if you remember that show.
Yeah, yeah.
Michael Landon, just helping people. This is more like, we gotta go after, the bad guy and stop these time variants and stuff like that. But looks like the main thrust may be Loki, but they may switch that. So we'll see. But so that time cop, kind of concept. Then you got the character study, right? Which is the, like you talked about, this is the Loki from 2012, right? After
Hmm.
he got beat by the Avengers. He's basically really the bad guy in that movie, right? And so he's evolved over that. So now they're trying to figure out who this guy really is when he doesn't have to go get killed by spoiler alert by Thanos, right? In the beginning of Infinity, what's it called,
Yeah.
Infinity War, but and then they got the world building, right? Which I thought that was really well done, right? The time variance authority, and so in the comic books, did you know anything about them at all? Have you read about them at all?
No, it was kind of obscure, and the TVA was kind of obscure. And anytime you got into the mystical, celestial, crazy outer space stuff with Marvel, it got kind of stupid. So I,
Yeah.
I left it alone. What what I hope they can do is not get too weird, and I think that's the danger in this crop of Marvel movies is just getting too weird with time jumping and you know alternate
Yeah.
characters, and
Hmm.
it's like, oh
That's
wait,
my
I thought
problem.
that was Loki.
Yeah.
Why is there a bad Loki? What the fuck are you talking about?
Exactly.
I missed an episode
Exactly.
now. Fuck it. I don't like Marvel anymore. Yeah.
That's the problem when you introduce time travel. I mean, they kind of did it in. They had to do an end game.
Hmm.
But now it's kind of like now you're gonna start scratching your head about a lot of stuff because the first thing that Loki said, even though how would he know this? But the first thing he said was like, "Why are you going after me?" When basically Avengers, that was the whole purpose of Endgame, to go fucking with the timeline, right? And
Yeah.
so it's like, dude, why are you messing with me? So it's like, so it's kind of like, oh, they're supposed, So here's a line, screenwriter 101.
Yeah.
That's supposed to happen, so it's kind of like, what does that mean, so what's the rules, man? You can't introduce
Yeah.
magic and time travel, you don't have any rules. It's just like, it's so arbitrary, right? And so so that's the problem with me. So basically you got all this stuff, retconning going on. So so we already brought back two characters already in these TV shows, right, that were dead. We already brought back Vision, right? He's supposed to be dead, and after Endgame. He came back, and now we got Loki. He's back, right? So
Hmm.
so there's no stakes anymore, right? So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they already hinted at it, but
And
Tony Stark would be back.
and Zemo's back on the table. It's like w- in a weird way. It's like no real consequences. Just like, hey man, let me unlock you from this jail and let's go have fun. I don't know. It just
No, let's go. Let's go to the club for about 2 hours. Just
Mm, 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 mm.
Zemo is getting it, boy. Zemo gets it. So, but so which is fine. I mean, anyone who's read comic books, we know no character can die. I mean, no character can die forever, right? They can always be brought back. I mean, literally, the two characters they said you could never bring back was Bucky and Uncle Ben, and they were brought back Bucky, right, in the comic book. So it's kind of like anybody can come back now, right? So it's kind of like whatever. So the movies are just reflecting that now that they introduce time travel and all that. So that's one problem I see with it. One thing also, let's get a little dark deeper in this, man. So is Captain American a variant?
Here we go. Captain, 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 everybody. Yeah, I mean, and
Because
that's the
remember what
thing.
happened at the end of the game? After Endgame, what happened to him?
Oh, what were we talking about
He
when
went back in time and he lived his
yeah,
life as
lived his
a
life out,
regular
right?
old dude.
Yeah, and he was end up sitting on a porch somewhere, smiling and yep, yep. I went back, got with Peggy. It was great. Peggy Carter.
Here's a shield, Sam. It looks good on you, bro.
Yeah, I don't know, Captain America. See, at this point, I because of what you're saying here about just like bringing anybody back and actually having consequences, I don't want to see him anymore. I don't want to see much of Tony Stark anymore. Maybe the effects of their legacy, sure,
Mhm.
but I don't want to see, just like I don't want to hold on to that. If you made that change, make that change and let it be done. Go about your business.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to make it more like comic books, and dude, this is so crazy, man. This is the dominant culture now, isn't it? Let's just take a step back. Going into these deep minutia, this is stuff we used to talk about at 3 a.m. in the dorm room on comic books. And now this is like dominant pop culture now. Everybody understands time travel now. They want to know retconning. It was like wow to me. But anyway, I digress. It's just amazing to me how things have changed. So the other thing I wanted to kind of bring up, someone I listened to another podcast. They brought this up too, the Ringerverse, and but they brought a good point. They said, so they mentioned TVA in that big, nice little exposition period around 9 minutes in. Like you said, they want to prune these multiverses so that these different timelines so they become multiverses. But it's just so weird to me. So are we talking about different multiverse? So this is the example I use. So different multiverse would be like a Nate Summers, right? For those that don't know, Nate Summers was basically a alternate version of Cable, right? That basically grew up with all his powers intact and became the X-Man, who was pretty strong and powerful in the comic books as like one of the top. Is he considered a what's it called? Omega mutant X-Man? Do
Oh,
you know?
right, that whole term. I think he was. I want to say he was.
Yeah. So Nate Summers was in a different multiverse, right? There was a whole thing called the Age of Apocalypse when Apocalypse took over, and Nate was like, the Cable of that universe. Or is it where you alternate timeline, but it's in the same universe? So, for instance, Cable, he is basically taken from our timeline, right, and then put into the future, and then now he came back. So he didn't go to another universe. He stayed in our universe in our timeline. So you
Yep.
get what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
do you have two different multiverses, or is it okay to go inside your own universe but in your own timeline? And so I'm like, dude, that's crazy. How do they explain that?
Well, okay, and that was, I think, part of the reason why they had the people explaining, how you had the three timekeepers or whatever, explaining how time is supposed to stay together. They're
Mhm.
fighting to keep this one multiverse intact. Their one little set of ways and timelines intact. And anything outside of that, where it goes outside the red zone, that's when
Mm.
that's when it leads to madness. We don't want madness. You know.
So you're saying it creates a different universe, whereas if you jump between the timelines in your own universe is okay. Is that what you're thinking?
Okay, if you look at the yes, if you look at the visualization that they've always used for a timeline, even back to when the all what do they call it? The seeing one, the almighty one, whatever from Doctor Strange,
Mhm.
bald headed lady, um,
The ancient one,
ancient
yes.
one, right? If you look at the visual of the timeline, it's not like a perfect line. It's this weird swarming series of lines and all that. Those are, you can think of those as like events or whatever, where they kind of start going out of order, but then they come right back and they weave in and out of each other.
Mhm.
So let me do this here. If you look,
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
if you watch Tenet,
Oh no.
there's a certain amount of craziness that can happen, and the entropy of time will kind of heal itself. That was one of the things that they said, where it's like, well, look, you can do this and go back and whatever, and bullet shoots backwards, whatever. You can pop somebody in the stomach with the reverse bullet. All right, wait. I feel like I just came in from a different universe there. The timeline just jumped back in place. Where where was I?
I think you were talking about Tenet. You were doing a reference on
Oh
Tenet.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so the entropy of time. Basically, I think what they're saying with the Marvel Universe is kind of what Tenet was saying, that you can fudge with time a little bit and the entropy of time will heal itself to a certain extent. But, and that's why you have the time streams with things weaving in and out of it. Like it's not a perfect concentric line. I mean, not concentric, it's not a perfectly contiguous line. It's all these little waves going in and out. And if you go too far out of that, that's when you get the danger zone. That's when you get variants. That's when you get multiple universes and things getting weird, which is the madness they were talking about. So, you know, I think that Marvel's using that as a way to say, hey, listen, we can we can fudge with things just a little bit. Don't worry, it's not really going to mess with the main timeline too much. Um, please stay with us while we take all your money.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I said, this is main this is what we consider main entertainment now. And it's a head scratcher already, man. You know, when you start introducing time travel and concepts and like for instance, they had the scene where he came back as DB Cooper. So I guess that was supposed to happen, and so, so it's kind of like stuff like that. They're just kind of dorking with us a little bit with time travel and retconning and what's real, what's not, who can do what. So it is one of those things that's very interesting to me that where they're kind of going with this. So one thing I did want to cover.
do you,
Go ahead.
oh, I have a question. Do you think that it will, the time travel nature of it will affect Black Widow in any way?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they already kind of hinted that she's kind of more connected to Captain America. Remember, the Winter Soldier, her and Captain
Hmm.
America were doing a road trip. And then obviously, man, what's her name? Madam Hydra. They're supposed to. The
Yeah,
reason why she has a tag at the end of Captain America because she shows up um, in Black Widow. So I think I don't know, but dude, I mean, all bets are off now. So the pandemic messed everybody's timeline up. So who knows? They may throw a little snippet in there to get us ready for I think let me think. So the only two movies this year are the Eternals and Black Widow, right? For Marvel.
yeah. Um, yes. Wait.
Spider-Man.
When does Shang-Chi come out?
Oh yeah, you're right, Shang-Chi. And then yeah, those are the three. And then Spider-Man, let's see, when does that come out? No Way Home. Oh, is that supposed to come out this year? Yeah, December. So, I mean, it's a Sony production, but that's
Yeah,
the one they're going to also talk a little bit about the multiverse, where there's rumored that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, who previously both played Spider-Man, will show up. So, so
madness,
yeah, so madness. Yeah, so
madness.
they're going to have three official Marvel movies, and then fourth one, which is a pseudo one with Sony. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to weave all this in. But the real big ones are going to happen in 2022 when you have Doctor Strange and Madness show up. So yeah, so it's gonna be interesting, man. A couple other big things we want to kind of cover. So the big rumors out there are is like they're introducing the big bad now, and so the hint is that these guys are so powerful that the Infinity Stones don't mean shit to them. They're like paperweights, right? And so that was the revelation there, so to kind of give people a sense of how powerful the Time Lords are. So the rumor is that either one of the Time Lords or one of the Timekeepers is basically Kang the Conqueror, right? Who's already been cast and will show up in Ant-Man. What are your thoughts on that? And we can kind of talk about who Kang the Conqueror is, but basically he is a antagonist of the Avengers. He's basically a 30th century man seeking to conquer all the time space continuum. And now the rumor is that he's probably going to be one of these time lords. And the other rumor is the reason why we think it's going to show up is because the judge they introduced here, Ravonna Renslayer, she's a character that
Yeah.
has a romantic interest with um, King the Conqueror. So we think he either may show up or we may see a little bit of. He probably won't show up. That's my prediction, but we may see him. Kind of have. We'll get a sense of his origin, if you will. So, any thoughts on that?
Um, Marvel's got a lot to juggle here, and as we said, in Feige we trust, but this is madness, man. I mean, you're talking about quantum mania. I go so small that time doesn't affect me, and 5 years later I pop back up, and it's like, look, man, you get small and you get big. That's keeping it simple. Now you're getting into quantum physics and um, you know, time doing weird things, and now I need to go watch that. Okay, okay, sure. You've got WandaVision doing things. It's like, hey, I'm screwing around with different versions of my husband, my dead husband robot being, and I've got this crazy book that allows me to do weird things. Uh, you know, yeesh, it just gets
And we
odd
didn't even
very
talk about
quickly.
Secret
So
Wars, or Secret Invasion, right? Which they introduced a little bit also on WandaVision,
yes,
which the scrolls, pop up
shape
and show up.
shape
Yeah,
shifting.
shape shifting. And then, obviously, we can kind of get into you know, uh, Secret Wars, right? Which is the one we grew up in when they introduced the Beyonder, right? Who basically took all the
Hmm.
heroes to this planet and they fought each other to see who would win. And then finally, they got out of that. But then they had a new version where Jonathan Hickman wrote, where basically all the multiverse was going to be destroyed through these what they call these incursions, and they created a battle world where the Doctor Doom was the god of that new planet that evolved.
Oh Lord, and we still have the Fantastic
Yeah, the
Four.
Fantastic Four could be introduced, Doctor Doom, yeah, X-Men. So it's, dude, I mean, I get Feige, but it's like I don't think we're gonna see it's not gonna be as clean as the Avengers was. I mean, Avengers, they kind of laid it out. We're going to get to Thanos, right? I think he got so many
Yeah.
balls in his head. I think it may be more of a hodgepodge, right? It's gonna be like, yeah, this is Secret Invasion, that's gonna come out first. But then right away, it's gonna lead into the next thing, which is Secret Wars or something like that. So some kind of way he's gonna have multiple major events pop up. Because you saw that the
Hmm.
new Captain Marvel is gonna be isn't it like Marvels or something like that, where they're gonna introduce the Captain Marvel, where they obviously gonna do Miss Marvel, right? That young
Hmm.
girl that's popping up. Obviously the main Captain Marvel, and then Spectrum, right, who was introduced in the last WandaVision.
WandaVision.
So they're gonna have like a whole kind of theme Marvel thing going over with those young ladies. So it's gonna be interesting, man. I mean, I think we're all scratching our head to see what's that. Is there going to be a unifying theory to kind of thread all this needles? But I don't think so, man. This is too much. I mean, especially when you introduce the multiverse. Literally, you can probably, yeah,
Madness.
you can create any of these things can make sense now. but they're gonna be in different universes, so they're gonna have to kind of team up together to kind of go after maybe Kang or something like
Yeah.
that. Maybe I don't know.
I'm always of the mind to um, keep it simple, and this is hard to do with writers and people developing these big productions. It's like, if you have something that's successful, they're like, "Hey, Spider-Man was successful, and he fought one bad guy. Now let's have him fight two bad guys." And it's like, don't do that. Don't just keep it one bad guy. Edit it a little bit and change the story, but keep it simple. You know, there's a whole phrase: "Keep it simple, stupid." And with all this madness, I think they run the risk of losing a lot of regular people. And once that happens, you're not getting it back because people jump off the train and they're like, "Yo, man, I'm not getting back into that. There's too much stuff I need to watch. I don't care. Ooh, Mayor of Easttown, I'll watch that." And you're off the Marvel train.
I don't know, man. Those movies made a shitload of money, dude. I mean, that's like Star Wars level, right? Where it just created a whole bunch of new fans, right? I mean, and
Hmm.
so now, now granted, okay, let's think about it. So we do compare how we grew up with Star Wars being the dominant, pop culture, but we didn't have as much content for Star Wars, right? The thing about kept Star Wars kind of still the forefront of our mind. It was just not a lot of content, right, for years, right? We
Yeah,
would just subsist on the holy trilogy, right? We were just like, oh, I used to watch that like literally every year. I would go to my uncle's house and he had all the trilogy back then on like deep laser disc, and I would just sit there.
yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna mainline this all day. But it wasn't finally till when we were in college they start remastered them, and then we got the prequels and stuff like that. So this is totally different. So now you're right. They got this generation that's grew up on these characters for like teen. I mean, they literally grew up. I mean, if you were like, teenager when it first came out of
yeah.
Ant-Man in '08, and it just ended in what was it 19? So you literally, became a grown person in that period of time. That's all you know. So now you're like, oh, these stories are continuing, and I want to get my kids engaged with it and all that stuff. So I'm just curious. I don't know if they're gonna leave, man. I mean, it's just too much. It's like the story of our lives now.
Well, no, but you fell out of comics at some point because they started doing too much foolishness, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not you personally, but the people fall out because it's like, look, once they split into this storyline, I can't keep up with the Fantastic Four. I can't keep up with X-Men. I can't keep up with all these different comics. I just need and it's not like they can just jump in and enjoy it. There's so much that they have to, or
Mhm.
they feel they have to follow along with. And I think that's a dangerous proposition, because none of these movies can I say, hey, you want to watch this movie because this guy fights this guy and it's a story about love, revenge, or whatever. It's always like, oh, you have to watch this movie because it connects to the universe this way. Um, this guy shows up and it introduces him, so you're going to want to watch that. I don't give a fuck about all that. I just want to watch a good movie. And I think they're testing the
Mhm.
patience of people.
Well, I would say this: comics come out once a week, right? And so it's just unrelenting, right? And so if a story not you're not feeling, then you just drop it and wait till the next storyline come up or something like that. But I will say this: so I see why now Feige is talking about these TV shows may not have relevant stuff in there. It just may color in the lines or the outside background. But the movies, to your point, I think that they're going to be must see. So, like, I think at most they may even produce. I mean, I guess this year they're having 4 movies, right? I think that's the most they can do, right? 1 movie every 3 months, which is not that bad to keep up with. Now, let's say
Right,
one of
right.
those movies you're like, "Oh, I'm digging," Shang-Chi, even though he doesn't have any background story. But now, okay, they're gonna have a Shang-Chi, TV show, then yeah, I might watch that because I'm digging that character, right? And I want to know the
Yeah.
background of all that. So I think, that's probably why he's getting into this. Like, we're not gonna reveal too much in TV shows because you're right, it's just too much content, right? I think now we're just starving, and so they just had, these ready to go. But and they already mentioned that there's not gonna be a WandaVision part second season. So there you go.
Right.
So it's not like, a lot of these shows are going to continue indefinitely. They may just pop up to color in the lines, right? To give you a sense of
Oh
what's
yeah,
going
that's
on.
yeah,
But
totally.
they're not going to be like, oh yeah, his Wise Vision, season 8, Vision came back. Now he's a dog or something like that. So Sparky's back. So it's gonna be interesting, man. So, yeah, man, dude, this is why we talk about it, man. We just don't know, and so, I think, So let's sum it all up real quick. Loki. So I guess we're both in because we kind of have to be. So, uh,
So, you're in because you have to be. I'm in because I think it's beautiful.
oh Lord, don't even sound like you, man. Oh my goodness. Okay, sure, it's beautiful. Uh,
Yeah, man, it's interesting. I don't know. Sorry, I can't even explain it. I think I've been hanging around Andy for too
I
long.
see, man. I see, man. Yeah, he gets into the score. He starts talking about the score and see how they did that score. That just made you, feel them. Um, True story. Yeah, High Level. I saw The Heights. Very great show. You guys need to check it out. A movie just came out recently on HBO Max. Lin Manuel Miranda, who created Hamilton, that was his first musical. Great, great. Now you see where genius comes from. So just want to give that shout out real quick. We talk about, music and all that, and it's funny because we don't talk about musicals on this pod, but it's like when you listen to it, uh, obviously you got the visual representation, you got the dialogue and the plot. But when you add that music component, it's just that added additional information. So it just makes the storyline hit a little bit harder because now you got more insight, right? Because like Andy was mentioning, I'm sure as well. When you play certain, types of music or certain types of things, it brings, different feelings up while they're talking, while they're moving. So just,
Yeah.
kind of, musicals can give you a little bit more information. So anyway, I just throw that out there. But to sum it up, so where do we see Loki going, man, long term, real quick, and then predictions over the next couple of episodes?
Next couple of episodes, geez, I don't know. Um, he goes on his merry adventure with this Mobius guy. Um, I actually don't have any kind of predictions on it, man. I'm just here for all the cool time travel retcon noise that they're going to be doing. Sprinkle me, babe.
Yeah, I mean, my predictions are, I think we will see, uh, maybe some introduction or some talk about Kane the Conqueror to kind of give you a sense of who this guy is a little bit. But yeah, I agree. It's just going to be mostly about Loki, finding out his purpose in the Marvel universe, which, we think is basically an agent of chaos, right? He's just coming in, you know, to wreck, just cause mischief, right? That's what he is, the god of mischief. So he'll help out when he can, but for the most part, you got to coerce him and just kind of get him, do stuff. But for the most part, he's going to do his own thing, man. And so I see at the end he's going to do something mischievous, and he's just going to disappear on Mobius, and he's going to be off on his island chilling. So then they're going to call him when they need him. So that's kind of my prediction.
Madness.
So with that being said, man, I think we're gonna go ahead and end it today, man. But anything you got planned for this week?
This week, as always, catch me on Instagram Live, man. There at around 6:30 Pacific every day, just talking noise. That's my current plan for right now, and I'm still putting together that little secret project.
Secret Wars, Secret Project, Secret Invasion. It's all together, man. So be
Mm,
careful. Love to hear it, man. Yeah, so definitely I'll be joining everyone. I'll be joining Mr. Benja, 6:30 on Wednesdays. We'll probably do our recap of Loki, non-spoiler review for Wednesday. Also give you a little breakdown of the latest news at that point, midweek breakdown. So I'll be on there as well. As for me, Mr. Benja, I don't really have too much going on. Just you know, in the business world, checking out these meme stocks. So for those that don't know,
stomp.
any stocks out there that just get hyped up on Reddit on the Wall Street bets, I'm all for it, man. It's just intriguing to me. Just very intriguing.
You gonna go get your free popcorn
Oh,
now
I'm about to, yeah,
from
yeah.
AMC?
Full transparency, I did buy AMC stop. I am down, so I don't care though because I want that popcorn. So that's what I'm about that life, man. I'm about that life.
Awesome.
So everyone, definitely, this has been great. So I think everyone, thank you for today for listening. Please like and subscribe and comment at Show versus Business on Twitter or Instagram, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out next week at the same time. Mr. Benja, have a great day.
Peace and madness.
Thank you for listening to Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture. Please subscribe to this podcast at Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Please like and subscribe to our Instagram page, Show versus Business, to get exclusive behind the scenes takes and upcoming episodes. Talk to you next time.
Finish him!